Hey there, everyone. I got 3 stocks for you in this video that I think could go sky high in July, or at the very least outperform in Q3, 2 of which I think have some fundamental promise that could be coming our way, which could make for investment opportunities. One of which I think at least the technicals as they're coming out right now indicate or at least hint to the fact that there could be some outperformance coming our way, a nice big fat old move coming, and that could really help us out with some alpha in our trading portfolios, and then we could use that to really lean in towards that long-term financial success and financial freedom that we're all striving for. By the way, if you want support in that, there's a link in the description for the Discord. Click on that, sign up, use the code word doctor for the earner tier, and we can also help you in that process. But guys, the 3 stocks, what are they? Well, the first one is UiPath, and then we'll get into TDOC, and then we'll get into BBAI. So let's jump right into the charts. No more hesitating here. So the first one, PATH. So for UiPath, this is the monthly chart that we're looking at. And I wanted to show you this because you can see the full history of the stock as a publicly traded company, month by month for every one of these candles. And we are pretty much at rock bottom. This thing peaked out right around $27, $28, going all the way back to February of 2024, and then selling all the way down to $9.38. It's recovered back up to $12.80 as of today's close. So what evidence do we see that makes me think that this thing could do anything whatsoever in July or throughout Q3 itself? Well, first of all, we do have a rise in the monthly RSI. So that could be signaling, even though it is bearish right now because it's down below 50, it's actually at 39.18. If that rise can continue, that can be signaling that there's a longer term trend at hand, and it is currently supported by the weekly and the daily RSIs. I will show that. And if we can cross over 50 with that monthly RSI, that is a really, really powerful signal. So what do we see in terms of volume? Well, we actually had some decent volume most recently as we started hitting this, we'll call it the cherry and the sour apple popsicles that we have down here with the popsicle itself, and then the sticks hanging down below those things. That's where we found that buying pressure, and that came in right around $9.42. And the volume's tapered off a little bit since then. We're down below the 50-month simple moving average, and we're also down below the 20-month simple moving average as well, potentially creeping up towards them. Let's drop down to the weekly chart. The RSI is up above 50, so we're in bullish territory. You can see we have tapering volumes right now as we're messing around with messing with the idea of actually breaking up and actually keeping this 50-week moving average, this 50-period moving average that's coming down across your screen this way. We broke up above it last week, stayed above it so far this week. And like I said, those volumes, the low conviction moves in that so far. But when this thing does break, if it does break, it should move pretty darn quickly for us. Putting up the EMAs for just a moment, we're up above the 5 and the 13. That's a near-term bullish sign. We're down below the 50. That's a near-term bearish sign that we're looking at. And for this one, there we go. The 200 week is all the way up there at $23 per share because of I showed you what this thing looked like early on. This does look a little bit kind of bullish, if you will, that we have that rise up, that sharp peak, selling back down, but then finding support just down below that 50. We closed this week down below the 50. EMA here couldn't break it, sold down, but then we recovered the 13 and the 5. Near-term bullish sign. That's why it's on this list. If we drop down to daily, the RSI is at 54.55, and we're nearing that catalyzing moment that could push us up above this. You can see that support that we're riding along the 5. The 5 has crossed the 13. That's a near-term bullish sign. Along with the bullish RSI that we have for indicating that momentum, we are down below the 200 EMA at $12.99. Putting up the SMAs on this, what do we see from those? Well, what we see is that we're up above the 20-day, which is absolutely crucial that we're above that. It's also crucial that we're up above the 200 as well, because near term, this stock is actually turning into a bullish movement. So as per the moving averages. And then down below that, we actually see this 50-day coming up this way. And if that crosses the 200, that would be a golden cross for us. So there's the 50 coming up this way, 200 that way. Right there would be the golden cross. And it will lag whatever price action we get if we do get that moment. So what does that mean for us as we look at UiPath? Well, that would mean that we would see the price start to rise up this way, potentially putting in another $15 to $17 price tag where it's at right now based on previous peaks. and the most recent movement that we've had as per the Fibonacci extensions. So that would be wild outperformance from where we're at right now, indicating that we have anywhere from a 25% to 40% upside. And perhaps that happens coming here in July. Maybe it takes all of Q3 if it's going to happen at all. So this one is number 3 on my list. Doesn't necessarily have the strongest movement, but I think that there's enough there to go on that it absolutely deserves to be on my list. I have traded with it a little bit already. If you want to see those trades, like I said, they're over at the Discord. The discount code for that is Doctor when you sign up for the earner tier, 50% off your first month. TeleDoc over here. Check this out. The monthly chart, once again, TDOC is the ticker symbol on this, and the 1M is the monthly chart that we're looking at. So every candle's 1 month. We actually had some pretty darn good volume on this already as this candle started to spike up above average volume. It's second only recently to the one that we had back in February, where we came all the way up on this one to $15.21, and it's currently trading around $8.71. So where do we find ourselves as per the moving averages and the RSI? Well, let's talk RSI, then we'll get to moving averages on this one. So let's drag this up so you can see a little bit better on your screen. Down here, we're starting to see a rise on this one. I would like to see one more month. If July is that next positive month, we would start to see a much better rise. Right now, we're pretty much even with this peak, 35.17, and we closed at 35.32. So technically, we're a little bit higher on this peak right here, coming off of June, that what we had going back all the way here in November. So slight evidence of a build. I would like to see a stronger build to see that longer term trend come in. But if it does, we could get some wild outperformance for TeleDoc. And one of the things that I like about TeleDoc is that even though the pandemic story might be over, where the whole world was shutting down and everything was switching to everything being remote, and there's that $300 price tag that I had all the way down under $9 right now, I do think another narrative is taking over, and that narrative is that healthcare is expensive and TeleDoc can offer a discount to the consumer, and that it can also help out the hospitals, the doctors, because it also makes things more convenient for them as well. I think that confluence can come together nicely, and we actually are seeing, let's drop down the weekly chart for this. There we go, and reset the view, and we'll really zoom in on this so we can check out the bottoms that we got on this. You can see that sideways consolidation that we had recently, which is pretty much even with what we have over here, pretty much a double bottoming for TeleDoc. So from a technical standpoint, we're starting to move. The RSI is up on the weekly chart, up above 52. So we actually have some indication of a longer term momentum trend going, where we're starting to flip over to the bullish side. We are up above the 20-week. We're up above the 50-week, but we're getting rejected. That 50-week is currently at $8.79. So $8.79. And if we drop down to the daily chart on this one to see what's going on, we're above the 20. We're above the 50, that's the blue and the magenta respectively. Look at the rejection that we got down below the 200-day, which coincides pretty much with that 50-week. That was at 879. This is at 897. No wonder we had that selling pressure come on with this movement that we've had with the price action. The RSI still below 70, so still not considered overbought. The volumes coming off this a little bit as the price goes up. It really matters where the floor is for TeleDoc in the near term. We could pull back to the 5 EMA on this one. I could see that happening, especially if we have a strong momentum move coming from this one. By the way, the 200 EMA is up at 911. Shorty fire burning on the dance floor. Whoa. So we could pull back in the near term, find out where the floor is before retesting that ceiling, but we don't have to. Switching back to the simple moving average on this, for TeleDoc, sitting on top of that 200 is going to be huge, because that would set us up for that bullish movement to the upside on this. Now, in terms of how high could this thing go, man, the sky's the limit on this one. I talked about the gap to fill that goes all the way up to about 1080, and then there's another one back before that that goes all the way up north of $20 per share from where it's at right now. So we could have anywhere from a 25-ish% upside, 20 to 25% upside, and then up to 2.5 times the upside. Maybe some of that happens during Q3. I think that we have the right move right now with the right volume that we could continue this move, even if it's not a straight shot. When we cross that 200-day, that's going to be a much stronger indication that good things are to come for TeleDoc. So from a technical standpoint, it could be moving. From a fundamental perspective, it could be investable. Well, we'll find out. Big Bear AI. Now for this one I was covering consistently since May the 20th. I did cover it months before that. Last time that we had a pretty darn huge move was when it went from under $2 per share to over $10 per share. And then the momentum came out of it. It came crashing back down, and then more momentum coming our way early 2025. And then later, as we started to hit May, we started to see the momentum pick back up again. And you guys saw what happened in the month of June. It was something like 64% up. I'll show that to you on the chart for Big Bear AI. This is one that I think could take us up to all-time highs sometime, maybe even 2025, but it does need a few things to happen. We need to see continued revenue being filled out. I think that they're waiting on some payment from the US government for some of the contracts that they have. I think there's been some delays that messed up their Q1 or Q2 earnings. I think it was Q1 earnings that we had that ended. It was because they ended March the 31st. So we'll see what Q2 has to say if they started to bring that in. The revenue guidance was good. They do have revenue growth. They're working towards profitability. It's definitely still a penny stock that's trying to prove itself to become a high growth company. And it has that potential. I think that 20x potential, that next Palantir potential, could still be there. Right now, that hype is currently driving the current price movement, but we do want to see it hit the top lines and bottom lines. We want to see further adoption of Big Bear AI's products and services. So let me toss this back up here for you. There we go. Once again, starting with the monthly chart, you can see the volume uptick. This one is number one on the list because you guys can see the clear volume trend that we had. And from a monthly basis, a monthly standpoint for the RSI, back in May, I said that, we have a bullish RSI and it's a growing RSI, and then June should be very good for us. And then June was very good for us. It was 63.22% was how much we went up for the month of June. And then we closed at $6.79, pretty much coinciding with the February 2023 peak that we had, but still working on closing in on the peak that we had back in February. We went up to $10.36. So we could have another 30% stacked on top of what we had earlier, or what we have right now. We could have another 30% stacked on top of it, but we could still go easily for something like this 2.5x to take us back to those all-time high numbers that we saw back pretty much around the inception of the stock. So when that first came out. So from a monthly standpoint, things are looking good, not overbought yet. When we go to weekly, we're at 67.35, wonderful volume. We might see a little bit of cooling. We'll see. We don't necessarily have to. The moving averages on this thing, we are up above the 20, the 200, the 50. Everything's gorgeous. Getting that golden cross moment probably coming sometime soon if we can keep the wind in the sails of Big Bear AI. So yeah, we had a huge movement. We might see some settling, but I think the next leg up could be even bigger for us. We're going to have to watch and see. When we go to a daily basis, we're at 76.9 for RSI. So overbought. And you can see that we get a high wick on this. And if I put up the technicals for a moment, we actually hit some previous pivots that actually caused us to turn back around on this. And I do have some other lines, but that make the chart pretty darn noisy. But when you start to take away that noise, you start to see, there we go, a little bit more of the other Fibonacci retracements and stuff. As a matter of fact, we had an area of resistance up here that we actually closed above. That resistance stopped at $6.72. We closed at $6.79. But previous pivots did cause us the historical resistance, like I said, going back to February 2023, was the trouble that we ran into for this. So let me take the noise back off the chart here. The volume support, wonderful. The RSI there. This is a longer term trend in process. So the three stocks, the way that I have them laid out for you, are with UiPath being at the earliest, and maybe that promise is there. TDOC is already starting to make its move. Big Bear AI did make its move, and we're in a later stage of it where what we're watching for is, okay, so where's the floor on this thing? Where's that next launching point that we go from? So we want to watch and see, are we going to hold 672 as support for us and step up from there? And news is really going to catalyze it and drive it, whether up or down from where it's at right now. And if it's going to have that 20x potential to it, it definitely depends on the amount of people that are, I should say, institutions, governments that actually enlist them into their services, fill out those revenues, start to show wild revenue growth, and show that it is translating to the bottom line as well, that we start to get some positive earnings. As of right now, they're still a profitless company, and they still have some cash burn, which also leaves them vulnerable to share dilution. This thing goes up too much, then they sell shares, grab some more cash, keep them solvent for a little while longer. That's definitely something that we need to be aware of as one of those risks. So guys, in the description, the Discord, when you sign up, use the earner tier, use code word doctor. It's going to save you 50% off your first month sign up. And then after that, what you do is what you do. But most people, the 1,000 members that are already over there, do happen to love the products, the services, the team of experts that are over there to help you find news, find ideas, find trade setups. We talk about the investments that we make. And I'll tell you what, it's a real party over there. we'd love to have you as well. And then if you want to know more about the technical analysis and how to use options with the technical trading, for example, there's some coursework through Stockmo Academy that you can check out. That link is also in the description. The same code word doctor will also work to get you a massive discount on those. They are a one-time fee, lifetime access course that you pay once, they're yours forever. And so that code word doctor doesn't get you 50% off the first month. It just gives you a massive flat cash discount off of that coursework. And if you bundle 2 courses together, options and technical analysis with the technical analysis trading strategy called the bread recipe, bundle those together and use code word doctor, that is the maximum savings that you can get. It makes it an incredible deal on top of an already wonderful deal, bargain prices for phenomenal courses. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning. We'll see you next video.